Right then everyone, Year 11, I'm just putting in this extra video for you to go over the Gantt chart. I think most of you have got the hang of doing the plan of making, and thanks to Sean for just sending one through and asking for a bit more clarification. You're not the only one, Sean. I think a couple of others needed this explained a little bit more. What you've got here in the Gantt chart is you've got to think of this as time, whereas this was like each of these process was what you were actually doing. So each step in making something. So if you think about a recipe, if you think about how that was done, say, oh, first of all, if you're making a cake, weigh out your flour, add the butter, and that's what's going on down here. And it's the same type of thing here. So we've got each of these parts. This is the parts that are being made. So think of the individual bits that make up your lamp. And this is like the steps in making each of those individual bits. So the vacuum form mold, we had about 3 individual steps, and most of you should have done those. And if you think about it in a recipe, if I was making a cake, it might be like, oh, weigh out the flour and the butter, then combine the flour and butter together, then start to add in the milk and the eggs would be the third one. And then you think about how much time it's going to take, because this is actually time along here. So you can see 1 hour, 2 hour, all the way through to 12 hours. And this will slowly go down at an angle. And you can see that on slide number 6. That you can see here, they've got cut out MDF hardwood using a tenon saw. And they're saying that have to mark out the base. 30 minutes for that, and then another 30 minutes for cutting it out. And maybe another third, so it's actually an hour to cut that one out, because those are 2 blocks, and each of these blocks is half an hour. So they've actually broken it down into half an hour pieces, which you can. And you can see it goes all the way down to this bit where it's got put together all the parts of the circuit, and it's half an hour for the full 9 hours of the process. So we have got really on here the same type of thing where you've got it through I've done it as hours. Really, we should try to keep it to as few hours as possible. I've got the full 12 hours on here. Technically, you've also got the other bits and pieces that you're doing at the moment, so 9 hours is probably the best to do it for. But you put all of these in and then block in what time it was. So, if we think about each of these individual steps that you've done in your plan of making, they should be appearing in here, and this should go down at an angle. So you shouldn't have them all coming down in the first hour, because you can't do everything in the first hour, but you'd make your mold, and then you would actually cut it out and you vacuum form it. And if you watched the video previously, what I did was I actually inserted as well like a separate box. If I didn't want to do a full hour, I might just do it as like a quarter one or a third one, or whatever it wants to be for that particular step. But each step should then go beyond this. So I couldn't put something back here in the first hour unless I was doing, say, something to do with my pewter at the same time I was doing my vacuum form mold. It should go loosely at 45 degrees down to the end. And you can see that this is actually the Gantt chart for the 9 hours that they've got on here. And I think that looking at it, it would be better if you tried to work it on a 9-hour one. So maybe work this out and delete them. If I actually get rid of these, it should really be for 9 hours. So if I get rid of all those, delete columns, it should be looking at it for about 9 hours for trying to do those. Now, you can simplify these steps. You could just have one, which is just make the mold for the base, vacuum form it, and clean it up. There could just be 2 steps. Simplify it down. What they want to see is you just planning it over time, that you understand that that particular process, that particular bit is going to take a certain amount of time. So you've got all of these on that first slide. So here we've got solder wire tails onto the switch. Now that could be a 10-minute job. And then solder resistors onto PCB, another 10 minutes. When rest of lamp assembled, solder wires for switch and LED lamp. Well, that might come later on. You might do all of these bits and then come back and do something else. A fixed and secure PCB. All of this could probably be done within an hour, within 45 minutes, within half an hour. I want you to think about how long it took you trying to plan it out. What we're trying to get is you to think about, right, this particular process, how long will it take me to actually do that? And that's what they're looking for. Hopefully that's been of help. Remember that you can email me if you need any help with bits and pieces, and I'll try and come back ASAP. Thank you guys, and speak to you soon.